a lot of great things to my heart, and I hope that he can do the same thing for yours. He's a new dad. Mom over there, baby. Hi, Mom. So again, we gotta give her all the props. Without her, there would be no you here, all that stuff, right?
Oh.
So here, thank you so much, there's Rick.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing? I'm gonna try to talk a little softer than JP. I don't think I can blow you guys out with rumbling bass in my voice like he did. Everyone here? Okay? Cool? Awesome, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please give it up one more time for JP? Please. So as often as he speaks very highly and very kindly of me, I have a lot of love for JP. He works really, really hard. He goes out of his way to put these events together, not only to put on these local artists, all these amazing performers and artists and men and women that have been up, today, and the ones that are still yet to come. But he always tries to do it with a purpose, with a reason. He has a bigger heart than almost anybody else that I know. So it's an absolute honor for me to be asked time and again to come in and speak and just be part of this community that he's building. So that's really cool. JP, you're the man. Don't walk away like you don't hear it, but you're the man, JP. So when I speak here, I always try to take the theme of the event and loop that into kind of what I'm talking about. So anti-violence, stop the hate. So one thing that came to me when I was thinking about what a good speaking point would be for this is self-violence, is self-hate, specifically through the context of allowing our comfort zones to overtake our life, and ways that we harm ourselves through neglecting challenge. So always taking the easy way, right? Indulging comfort too much. So everybody always says, if you want to grow, you have to get outside of your comfort zone. Growth happens outside of your comfort zone. It's an easy meme to throw out there. It's an easy hashtag. It's an easy thing to say and talk about. But I don't think that we, myself included, right? I don't think that we examine what that necessarily means or the harm that can come from neglecting that. So one of the easiest places to always start is talk about physical comfort and what happens to our body. A while ago, being a martial artist and being an athlete, I started studying breathing techniques. One of the first things that came up was how you're supposed to breathe through your nose. And what they're finding out, that they're researching, is that it's so much easier for people just to stand around, open mouth, breathing in and out of their mouth, that it's actually starting to misform people's mouths. It's affecting their blood pressure, it's affecting their heart rate, their resting heart rate, their athletic performance. Cortisol levels are through the roof, and it's something that's so simple, and it seems like it shouldn't make that much of a difference. But when you force yourself to close your mouth and you start breathing through your nose, you realize that your sinuses are constantly clogged, your passages are much smaller than they should be. So we're creating these difficult scenarios for ourselves from neglecting something as simple as breathing, right? So we're not breathing right, so we're harming the structure of our mouths, we're having dental problems. But it's not, it doesn't just start there. That's kind of an easy thing. It may seem a little obscure, but we start thinking about it more and like, what are other things we do that we just do because it's comfortable, we neglect everything else, right? So how many of us, as soon as November hits, we grab our hoodie before we walk out of the door? I do, right? No, it's November, it's cold outside, I know that, so I grab my hoodie and I throw it on. Is it really cold at 50 degrees? Is it really cold at 40 degrees, right? How many times have we just said, okay, well, I'm gonna grab this in case, but I wanna see what it feels like outside first, right? So then it gets into December, it gets into January, it gets into February, and we have to have bigger coats, we have to have hats, we have to have scarves. Our body is conditioned to being constantly in discomfort and constantly being warm. So, we talked quickly about breathing and how that affects us, but the purpose of our body is to learn how to warm itself up, right? So one thing I kind of started doing was at least once a day I'd go outside for a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes if I was feeling energetic, just without my shirt on. It's 20 degrees outside and it's cold and it sucks for a few minutes, but when you come back inside and you rest and you let your body do what it does, all of a sudden you start realizing like, yes, my heart does work. My blood is pumping. My body is learning to do what it's supposed to be doing, right? So then, cut to middle of February, you get a 50-degree day, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, I don't actually need this sweatshirt. I can just be fine and okay with my t-shirt, right? So what happens to us when we start coddling our body? How many of us have dealt with seasonal affective disorder, right? I do. It's cold and it's shitty outside and you don't want to go outside because you have to get your sweatshirt, you have to get your coat, you have to get bundled up. It's miserable to be outside. So now we think, okay, well, I'm assuming that it's going to be bad outside. I'm not challenging my body. I'm not allowing my body to do what it wants to do. Now all of a sudden my mind is becoming caged. I'm sitting in my house day after day after day and I'm not doing anything, right? So another example of the way we seek constant physical comfort and how it affects our actual mental health. So building from this, right? So we start seeing all these small things that we neglect during the day, things that we take for granted, ways that we're coddling our body, and then I think naturally goes to how are we coddling our mind? How many of us have ever had an engagement with somebody, feel like it was starting to get heated, and say, you know what, I'm not going to say what I think in here because I might upset that person, right? We all have. Again, I like I said, these are all things that I do, things that I have done, trying to examine myself. And when we don't put pressure on a relationship, it's the same way what happens to our body when we don't put pressure on our body. We don't put pressure on the way we're breathing, our mouth structure suffers, our respiratory structure suffers, right? If we don't put stress on our muscles, our body suffers, we atrophy. If we don't put pressure on our body to warm itself, we start succumbing to the cold, we start affecting our mental health, right? So if we don't put pressure on our relationships, naturally what happens to our relationships is they crumble. And the most comfortable thing to do is say, I don't want to start a fight with somebody. I don't want to say my truth, or I don't want to say something I think that person might need to hear because they might get offended. And then we start doing that with our closer friends. We start doing that with our family members. We start doing that with our significant other and our loved ones. And all of a sudden, we're in this family situation where we can't have any conflict because it's uncomfortable. So every time in our life, every time that we allow that comfort zone to contain us, it shrinks. And then you let it shrink some more, you let it shrink some more. Again, talking about what we physically do during the winter time. November, we're going outside still a little bit. December, we might go outside in the snow a little bit more. By January, by February, we're only going outside for short periods of time. When we absolutely have to, we're miserable. Right? And everything shrinks in. And our comfort zone starts strangling us and suffocating us. And it's all through constant neglect. Okay? So I think what happens when people say, push your comfort zones, get outside of your comfort zone, I think that we have this big grandiose idea of what that means. We think, I gotta start going to the gym. Yeah, I'm uncomfortable going to the gym. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta train as hard as I can. I've gotta go, get up in front of 100 people and play a concert, right? I've gotta go, jump out of an airplane. I have to do this one big, huge thing that's gonna take me outside of my comfort zone. And then once I'm outside of my comfort zone, I can live there forever, right? But just like everything with life, progress is gained through constant and consistent endeavors. So I know I started pretty, far off in outer space. We were talking about something as simple as breathing. But if we're taking our breathing seriously, if we can lay down and sit in the quiet and just focus on how our body is engaging, and it's uncomfortable at first, right? But we take that moment to step outside and be cold and be uncomfortable. We start conditioning our minds, we start conditioning our bodies for discomfort. And then we can start engaging with people differently, okay? So not only in arguments, but how many of us in here have ever regretted not saying something to someone positive. Not saying I love you to someone. Because why? It's uncomfortable if they don't say it back, right? Because we're afraid. But what does love really mean? Is, do I only love this person if they say it back? Right? Or do I love this person because I love this person and I want them to know? But it's uncomfortable, so we don't say it. And it's the most cliche thing you hear people say, always at the end of life, you don't regret the things you did, you regret the things you didn't do. I am fortunate enough that I've been able to find friends and find people who think very similar to me, who engage with the hard conversations with me. And through this constant search for some discomfort, I found that now, when I am compelled, when I feel deep down that I want to say something to somebody I love, I say it. I send that awkward, uncomfortable text message. I say, you know what? If they don't respond to this, that has to be okay, because for me, it's important that they know. And there's still sometimes that it's uncomfortable and it's weird, but I've never regretted it, because it doesn't matter if they reciprocate. It doesn't matter how they feel. It matters for me that they know. And even if it doesn't change how they approach life or anything, I know that now I can say these things. I can have fights. I can have fights with Rachel. We can have fights and disagreements because she's such an incredible partner that when I push her, she's not going to crumble. She's going to push back. We've agreed to be uncomfortable with each other. And it's been hard, and these things aren't always easy, but now we have a daily routine where every single day we find ways to be uncomfortable. Right? I always like to make sure that I don't just speak in hypotheticals and have actionable steps. Obviously, you don't have to be a psychopath like me and go outside in the 20-degree weather with your shirt off and do all that, right? But things like this, physical discomfort is the easiest way to start exploring our discomfort, right? One very simple thing you can do is you take a shower, take a nice warm shower, get done, you're all clean. For the last 15 seconds in the shower, turn the hot water off and just stand there and freeze like shit for 15 or 30 seconds. And that's it, and that's all it takes, because that's our first experience with discomfort, right? For me, after I do that, I get out of the shower, I just dry off enough so I'm not dripping everywhere, but then I won't put my shirt on, I won't jump into sweatpants either, right? Because it's important for me to condition my body to not always seek that comfort, right? And so it's little things. Like I said, I love going outside now. If it's a 30-degree day, the wind's not blowing, you're sitting in the sun, it feels like summer. So these are just amazing little benefits that I found. My seasonal affective disorder, this has been the least depressed that I've ever been in my life through the winter time. Not bragging or anything, but I'm excited because these things are cool, and I love sharing this with all of you. Last little story I'm going to use. I know I've kind of been all over the place. I get really excited and try to keep it short. But the first time that JP asked me to speak a couple years ago, I was really excited. I was really, really nervous. And I wrote the whole speech. And as we were on our way to the venue, I realized I had left it at home. And I started getting nervous. And I found that I was jittering, and I told Rachel, I remember telling her that I hadn't been that nervous before an event since the first time I fought. So I was so terrified, I felt like I was going to be in a physical altercation. Like I would rather go get punched in the face and do what I had to do coming up. And I was sick to my stomach, and I was just thinking of every single way I could get out of doing that, or not have to do it. And I got up there and I just loosely had a structure, kind of like I'm doing now, and I made it through it. And just like there is right now, there are just so many people, the encouragement, just people having their eyes forward, listening, and the nodding and stuff. The little things that you're all doing is so tremendous for this this end of the experience. And that's exactly what I got the very first time I did it. And I got done, and I didn't feel that good after I got out of my first fight. I mean, it was cool and everything, but this is different. The fact that I was able to take a chance to get outside of my comfort zone, to come into something completely unprepared, and get out of it okay, and then make friends and make an impact, and then just have awesome conversations with people is one of the most significant moments in my life. Now when JP gets in touch with me and says, hey man, you want to come speak? I'm like, hell yeah, I'm excited about this. I spent the last 2 months thinking about this and writing notes and paying attention to conversations I'm having and things I'm doing day to day, you know? I'm taking my cold showers because I didn't want to get up here and lie about what I'm doing, you know? So through all of this, even the thought of discomfort, how we can grow from that and what it means to build a life that is surrounded in discomfort, when you have moments where you can be truly comfortable, where you can see the fruits of your discomfort and the hard work actually pay off in a tangible way, and come to something like this and just be around so many cool people, so many kind and compassionate and caring people, it's honestly the most tremendous feeling in the world. So thank you guys so much for listening. JP, again, you're the man. Thank you so much for giving us all a venue to come and to be ourselves and get to know each other a little bit better. And yeah, thank you guys all so much. We got Disorder coming up next, so stick around. And thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Rick. I have to wipe my eyes over there. If that doesn't move you, you're not listening. It's pretty simple. Be uncomfortable. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's it. You think I'm comfortable standing up here? No way. But I do it because I need you guys to feel the energy that we're giving. There it is. So thank you, Rick Huntsman. Give me a second, and we're going to put Disorder on.